So how's quarantine going for you guys? Stuck inside with the kids, maybe trying to figure out how to homeschool. It sure makes your house feel smaller, doesn't it? Well, imagine if you took your house and shrunk it down to a fifth wheel, and then you lived in that fifth wheel for 365 days a year. But on top of that, you were living far away from your family and friends. A brand new community, a brand new church, just when you're starting to feel like home. Just when your church starts to feel like family. Just when you start making some good friends. You pack everything up and move your family to another random town. Does that sound like fun? There are people who do that willingly. Stick around, and I'm going to do some thinking out loud about a very unique ministry today. Well, welcome to another episode of Thinking Out Loud. Today, it is a privilege to introduce to you a good friend of mine, Jon Anderson. He's a pastor at Faith Baptist Church. I always get that wrong. Faith Baptist Church in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Interestingly enough, Jon, we haven't known each other very long. It feels like we've known each other for a long time. It's been less than a year, I was thinking this morning, since we met. And I feel as though we've become fast friends. I would consider you one of my better friends, especially in ministry. And I've appreciated just our fellowship together. And I anticipate that this is not an unusual interaction for us. I anticipate that probably we will be talking about discipleship, and things like that, different types of, interaction with churches, interdependency, equipping, those kind of things. But today, I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about a very unique ministry that is happening at Jon's church. I had the privilege of being part of this ministry. Some of you might be familiar with Continental Baptist Missions and their missionary builder ministry, and I had the privilege of growing up in that ministry, especially from my early teen years on, is when I was kind of involved on the building projects. And I've lived in what I had it written down here, 8 different cities, 8 different towns, and 5 different states in that time, and lived in a 38-foot travel trailer. My bedroom was 6 foot long, so you can kind of imagine what that might have been like. But I don't want to talk about it from that standpoint today. I thought it would be interesting to talk to a pastor who has them there helping his church build a church building. And so we wanted to kind of let people know about this unique ministry and how it's been a blessing to you. So let's just start with kind of the basics as far as some of the practical aspects. Just for people who might be wondering, walk us through just kind of briefly the process of getting approved to have the builders there and those kind of things.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting with me today. Appreciate it. So that was actually pretty straightforward and simple. It just it's an application you fill out and you send into them, and then they bring it before a review board. And, as long as you meet their criteria, and they have, a few sets of very specific criteria that you have to meet, as long as you meet that, and then they vote and you get approved into the project, and away you go. So that, the whole process of us getting accepted it was like almost a 10-year journey, because the first time we applied, over 10 years ago, CBM was still really busy with new church plant builds. And so they weren't accepting anybody, any church that wasn't like a church plant that, that was like their first building. That's what they were focused on. But then those projects kind of ran out, and then they started accepting other churches. And so then later on, we were fit their criteria and were approved. And I think right now they're still kind of in that mode, just looking to be a blessing to smaller churches, churches that really couldn't afford to, just hire a contractor and write a check and build a church building. That those are kind of the ministries they're looking for. So
good, and later on we can talk about. I think it's really neat. For anybody who doesn't know, my dad is the director of building ministry, so I actually have heard about Faith Baptist a long time ago and just kind of have been able to walk through that journey kind of through my dad. And so it's neat to me now to have gotten to know John and see where God has brought their church and realize that God's timing in this was perfect. And we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned just the idea of, for churches there are churches who could just hire contractors.
Yep.
Talk through just a little bit about the benefits of that cost wise or different things that you guys have experienced, the benefit of having the builders there rather than hiring contractors.
Yeah. So right up front, probably what's on most pastors' minds is cost. We figure it's probably about a 50% cost saving having the builders here. So that's huge. It's enabled us to build a building that is beautiful, meets our needs, and kind of even over and above what we thought we were going to be able to build. So that's huge, just from a cost savings perspective. But more than that, having gone through this process, it would have been sad almost looking back on it, thinking about how much we have gained, not just from financial savings, but ministry wise. They come in, they're all believers, all the builders are, they all have a heart for ministry. And so it's like one of those, we're going to come alongside of you and support you and help you so that you can keep doing what you do. And I heard so many horror stories going into it, but pastors talking about, at the end of the building project, they were ready to resign and leave the ministry, and they lose their hair and turns gray, and I didn't get any of that. And I think a lot of that has to do with these builder families that came alongside us and helped us in ministry. It kind of took that load off my shoulders so that I could keep my focus on ministry, and not just my focus, but the church's focus on ministry. And that's been huge. Like, we've broken, I think, all stereotypes as far as a church going through ministry, rather than losing our focus and just being consumed with a new building. God's actually transforming our mindset for ministry in the middle of a building project. Amen. So that's pretty outstanding. That's pretty phenomenal. And again, the builders help in that, we try to help out and, pitch in when we can. But otherwise they just take that load and they just go at it. And there's extra decisions that I have to make that add a little stress, but it's not bad at all. And that's been awesome. As far as, having somebody with a ministry mindset to come alongside you to help you so that you don't lose your focus, so that you don't, kind of derail your church as you're going through a building project.
Yeah, so a couple of things you spoke to there prompted in my mind. One of those is just, you mentioned it, and I think one of the great benefits is the lead builder is the one who really shoulders the responsibility of the building, and they fully recognize that their goal is so that the pastor does not have to be burdened down with that. They want the ministry of the church to be able to thrive during this time, and so that's a real benefit. And then the other, John mentioned the 50%-ish that they feel like they're saving. You say, well, how does that happen? Well, these builders are missionaries. They're supported as a missionary church planner would be. They've gone on deputation. Some of them are still on deputation, even though they're working on the project. And they've gone from church to church, and they're raising support to be able to do this. And so they're partnering with other churches. If your church is one that supports one of these missionary builders, then as John is talking about the ministry that's going on, that's happening because of you, because you have allowed that to happen. And so thank you. From a pastor, I can understand that. John, talk a little bit about the living situation. I mentioned kind of what it was like for me, but mention a little bit about the living situation for these builders.
Yeah, so we're blessed. We live in a pretty upscale community, and so we weren't sure if the village was going to let us, park their trailers right here on church property. But that was just another way God worked. And I could sit here for hours and tell you stories of how God opened doors and how God's blessed and how God has worked through this. And it's really cool. It's been for sure a faith building experience. But we got permission from our village board to let the builders live right on site, right here in the church. And so that was one of the first things that we did. They came in and set up basically a temporary RV pad, and we've got sewer and water and electric and everything that they need. So we've got 5 builder families, and 2 of the families have kids. So there's 5 husband and wife couples, and then 4 kids. So they live here on site for a year. They've lived here, and they all have their own trailers. So they come in and they have their own, and that's their house. That's what they live in. So, and they're fully self-sufficient. They the trailer comes with everything that they need, from, kitchen. They make all their own meals to, washing clothes, washing dishes. So that's such a blessing, because it, especially for a little church, like if they came in and you had to house 14 people and feed 14 people, and we certainly we'd do it, we'd manage it, but that would be an extra burden on the church. So for them, being fully supported by other churches around the country so that their daily needs are met, and almost like the Apostle Paul, where he came in, and as an apostle, he said, I have every right to, I minister to you spiritually, then I should be able to, have my physical needs. And it, you almost feel guilty sometimes, because they're here and they're just working for you and building this church, and you're not paying them. You kind of feel guilty, like I should be doing more. And I've had so many people say, how can we repay them? And I said, we can't.
Right.
It's a ministry. We certainly, we thank them, and we do what we can. And, as a church, certainly, as the Lord provides, it's high on our list to be able to support the CBM builder work, so that we can have part of this ministry. So as they continue to go around the country and build other churches, we can fund that too. But that's been neat. And then they just live right on site, and they become part of your family, part of your church family. You see them every day, and that's just been a huge blessing. They're all great people and have loved having them here. And the hard thing is now they're about ready to leave, and it's a little bit like tearing a little piece of your heart out when they leave. But we understand that they have the next church to go to, the next part of their ministry to tackle. And so, but overall, it's been a phenomenal experience having them here.
Amen. Well, it's good to hear. And that's a good spot for us to stop. Time flies, right? 10 minutes gone. It's actually a little longer, but that's all right. And we're going to stop there. And then we're going to pick up next time. We're going to come back and finish this conversation with John. And we're going to talk kind of about the spiritual side of things and what that means to the church as well through this. So thanks, John, and we'll talk to you next time. And thanks for those who have watched, and we hope to see you back.
Thank you.